Alright, today I'd like to talk about building an all-around workhorse computer on a budget. So this computer will be used for general computing and also playing games. We're not really talking about AAA titles, though the graphics card may be capable of running them on some settings. We're just talking about some of your less demanding games, though we may test some higher games in the future or provide you with statistics on what this system should be capable of running. But we're basically talking about general computing, running some games, and doing some possible streaming, things like that. So let's get started. So this is a Lenovo S30. It has a 1650 version 2 processor. It's not the latest greatest, but it is a very capable 6-core 12-thread processor. So it should be very capable of getting the job done in a lot of different games. I've heard people say they play AAA titles with it. I'm not a gamer, so I'll leave that up to others. You can check yourself to see what other people online say. I will leave the specs for this system in the comment or in the description down below. So check that out if you want to know exactly what we have in this system. So I'm going to flip this thing over and go through real quick what we're going to do and why, and then we'll start the build. So let's get started. All right, let's get her open. So the Lenovo S30s are pretty easy to open, as you can see. Everything is pretty accessible in here. So let's go through what it comes with, and then we'll go through the parts that we're going to replace or add. So what it comes with is an NVIDIA Quadro K2000D. It's not really a very powerful card. It might have been a good card many years ago, not now. Has a very good 400 watt or 410 watt power supply. It's a 80 plus gold, so we've got a solid power supply there. It did come with a Samsung 850 Pro 512 gigabyte solid state drive, so thumbs up on that one. Very good. And as I said, it has a Xeon 1650 V2 processor, a pretty decent processor. It's came with 12 gigabytes of RAM installed. These are single channel, and because the Lenovo S30 needs triple channel memory, they come with 3 sticks. We're going to be putting all 8 sticks in there, so we'll take a look at that. So that's what we've got to start with. There's something else I'd like to point out about this system and the configuration. If you look over here, you will see that there are 7 SATA ports. Now, the first 4 ports, 2 red and 2 orange, work right out of the box, no problem. It's great. But I did the first system I noticed these 3 ports, the blue ones, they don't work right out of the box. They don't work at all. What you have to do is you can look online and find the Intel Rapid Storage driver for the Lenovo S30. It's not too hard to find, but that will enable those 3 ports. There are some other limitations involved when you do that, and those 3 ports do not run at say the 3 speeds. But for storage, on my other drive I connected the DVD player, so we'll probably swap that out today, even though I don't need to, and move the DVD to one of the blue ports because it doesn't need say the 3 speeds anyway. I doubt the DVD player is capable of that. So just a quick heads up, if you do get one of these systems and you want to put a lot of drives in here, you are going to need to install that driver. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get rid of the things that we're replacing, and one of them is this card. So we don't want this card. It's too old, too weak. We're not going to be able to play almost anything on this card. So buy card. There we go. Now the other thing is we're going to be replacing all of this memory. So let's go ahead and pull out these 3 memory modules. We can save these. Maybe I'll use them in another build someday. Probably not, but we can save them, or maybe we'll just put them up online for sale. So don't need those. So the other thing we have here is the 512 gigabyte Samsung Pro, Samsung 850 Pro. Don't know if you can see it here, but trust me, it is a Samsung 850 Pro. On the other system that I rebuilt, it's the same one from the same seller that I got this one from. It also had the Samsung 850 Pro. I ran it through Crystal Disk Info. I tested it with Crystal Disk Info, and it reports it is in excellent condition. So barely used and very good condition. So I'm assuming this one is too, but you know, I don't know. We'll find out. So we're just going to leave that in there. I did disconnect the cables, and I'm going to show you why. It has a black SATA cable, and though I have no problem with the colors of most of my SATA cables, I do have an issue with the SATA cable for the main drive being black or any other color except red. There's no real reason why it has to be that color, but I prefer to use a red one so that when I'm opening up these systems, sometimes they're a little tight and it's not always readily apparent where the cables are running to. And so it's just a habit of mine, and I like to use a red SATA cable for the operating system drive. So whichever drive the operating system's running on, let's go ahead and just get in there and swap that out and put a red SATA cable in there. Now, a lot of times on these Lenovo systems, of which I have quite a few, I like to run it up here, but if I'm running a fan here, then that's not something I like to do. What I like to do is run it down under here to get it out of the way, and so that when I put a fan in the front, it's not going to, you know, slow down the airflow. We want to keep the airflow as high as possible. So some things like this are hard to move without you know, causing other problems. So we're not going to mess with that today, but let's try to keep everything else away from the location where we're going to mount the fan. So get that out of the way. Let's talk about what we're putting in here. For a graphics card, we have the MSI RTX 2060. It's not the most powerful graphics card in the world, not even close, but it's a good solid card, and it's about as much as this system can handle as far as the CPU. In games, it may actually become CPU bound, so we don't want a better card, but for some graphics intense programs, then it can make full use of the card, and so we are just going with this so that the system is more flexible. Now we have the Samsung SSD in here, and it's a good SSD, but we're also going to install this NVMe M2 solid state drive from Crucial. It's a 500 gigabyte drive, and you can see it right here, and it comes, and no, it doesn't come with, but that's just the drive. And to install it, we're going to need a PCIe adapter, and the adapter comes with a heat sink or whatever you want to call it to go on top of the drive to help keep it cool. Now on the back over here, we're going to put it over here to keep it away from the GPU, and that is a PCIe 4 slot, so that should have plenty of bandwidth. I've done it on another system. These run very, very well. If I had more space, I would put it in the X16 just because. Not that it would necessarily run faster, I'm not sure, but I would put it there anyway. But I don't want it to crowd the card, so we're not going to do that. So this is going to give us 500 gigabytes more of SSD. For the memory, we're going to put in 8 4 gigabyte sticks. So this system has 8 slots, and this is server memory, but this is compatible with this Lenovo S30. All server memory is not compatible with all S30s. So don't just run out and grab something. Make sure it's compatible with your particular configuration. So I have already used this on another system. I used 8 gigabyte sticks, same Samsung memory, and it worked perfectly. So I'm very confident it's going to work in this system. So for a hard drive, we're going to use a Hitachi 6 terabyte drive. So that's going to give us plenty of storage on this system. It's mainly going to be used, like I said, for games, streaming, things like that. But we will have room here to install one more at any time, so we can pop another drive in there anytime we want it. And we can use one of these Vantex, and it's a 5 1/4 to 3 1/2 inch adapter, and we can pop that in the front bay here, and we can get another drive in there. And this particular system also has right here, hidden under here, another 3 1/2 inch bay. So on my other system that I built, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 drives, 5 hard drives in there, plus the solid state Samsung 850 Pro and an NVMe. So we got lots and lots of drives on that, but it's used for a different purpose. So we need more drives because that one's doing video editing and stuff like that. So we run the programs off the NVMe, and we run the operating system off of the Samsung 850. Just helps keep everything separate, makes any need, if we have to reinstall the system or something, sometimes easier to do that. And there may, it's debatable, be a slight performance improvement by separating your operating system from the drive that the games and programs are run on. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. The first thing we're going to have to do is unbox this 2060, and we're going to drop that in here. We'll need to get rid of one of these. So let's get this unwrapped. I never saw anybody feel bad about unboxing something. I think everybody likes to do unboxing videos and stuff like that. Maybe someday if somebody ever sends me something, I will do an unboxing video for them. But no, nobody's paying me for this. So here we go. This looks very nice though. You got to give it to MCI on that. Very nice packaging. Looks very safe. Very well done here. And one of the reasons I got this card is because the all metal black backplate and how sturdy it was. It's just a very sturdy, attractive, well-made card, as you can see. Just looks good. Very good. So that's easy enough to put in there. So I had considered putting an old 1060 in there, which is still capable for probably all of the games that will be played on this system. But this computer will be doing some other things that would require a little bit more graphics power, a little more GPU power. So we went with the 2060. On the other S30 that we recently built, we put a 3060 in. But this 2060 has 12 gigabytes of RAM. So we don't have any problems there. Plenty of RAM. There you go. Fits in there nice. Another one of the things I like about these S20s is, as you can see, we have a lot of space. Now, I got an adapter here for this. Because this RTX 2060 has a 6 and an 8 pin. What we have is 2 6 pins. So I did a lot of research before I did, bought this card for this build. And I went directly to the source, Lenovo, and they have confirmed that this power supply is capable of powering this card. I should have plenty of power, overpower, to be able to power this card. So we're going to take one of these 6 pins and we're going to use an adapter, and that will take care of the 8 pin. So pretty cheap to get these. You want to get some good ones, but they're not that expensive, and that resolves the problem with the 6 pin, 8 pin setup here. So make sure you get them on there good. Don't want anything loose on a computer. So there we go. Now we have those set up, I'm going to just wiggle this out of the way just a tad. And as I mentioned, the DVD drive really doesn't need that much juice. You know, it's not going to be able to run at the speed of a SATA drive, especially if I put in another of a SATA 3 drive, especially if I put something else in here in the future. So we're just going to go ahead, disconnect that for now, and then we're going to plug it in to one of the other ports. Now I may need a slightly longer cable, probably not, but we're going to plug it into one of the other ports. Alright, now we can install our hard drive. I'm not doing this in any particular order. I'm really not obviously a pro, as you can see, but I am very interested in doing these things. I like to do builds. I do quite a few builds, so if you have an idea for a build, let me know. I don't do anything fancy. My thing is doing these on a budget, and it may not seem like this is a budget PC, but for how much I have in the S30 and all of the components, it is a very reasonably priced build for how capable it's going to be, and the fact that it's going to have 2 SSDs, 6 terabytes hard drive space. It has 80 plus gold. It has a very capable graphics card, and the system's going to be capable of really doing a lot of stuff. So good system, well worth the price, and the quality of the components is really good. And that's one of the reasons I like, using these systems like the S30, is because the quality of the components. Very few people or very few manufacturers build to the same quality level as Lenovo. And yes, I am a bit of a Lenovo fanboy, I will admit it. The reason being, I purchased my first Lenovo in approximately, I believe it was 2006 or 2007, and that Lenovo is still running. I never had a single problem out of it. I recently did an upgrade of it just because. Not that it's ever going to be capable. It's a little bit too old, so it's never going to be capable of running today's modern programs at any kind of speed. But it still runs. It still works very good. And, I just thought it would be really, really cool to upgrade it and try to see what I could do, what the most I could get out of it. And surprisingly, it runs very simple games, and it runs, YouTube videos and things like that quite well, surprisingly well for how old it is. You can do a lot of stuff. You can run some of your Office systems like LibreOffice, things like that. Not quite as snappy, but I put an SSD in there and it does, surprisingly well. Alright, so there we go. We got our SSD in there. We got our 6 terabyte hard drive. Probably should have put my NVMe in there sooner, but obviously I'm not the best at this. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the screw out you see here. We're going to slide this all together. we're going to have another 500 gigabytes of SSD storage. On my other system, I found that this NVMe definitely runs faster than the SSD. And that's not just any old SSD. That is a Samsung Pro. So that's saying something. Runs very fast. Very capable. Very capable drive. And that's the Crucial 500 gigabyte. I believe I paid around $50, somewhere in that neighborhood. So it's not that expensive, really. It's a good deal. Like I said, I probably should have pulled this out and put that in first, but I don't think we're going to have any trouble getting it in there. As you can see, it's a really small card. Don't know if it's necessary to put this heat sink on there, but we got it, so why not throw it on there? I did notice on one of my systems where it was too close to a heat source, and my ventilation really wasn't that great, and the NVMe got fairly hot. Too hot for my comfort. So I ended up moving it to the other side of the GPU. So I made a few moves there to open it up. So apparently we're supposed to put this heat sink on first. So we got the heat sink, we got the thermal paste or thermal tape, and we're going to set that down on there. You want to leave room to get that screw on there. And after we put it on there, mash it just a bit, they have these little bands, so you can take these bands and use all my 10 thumbs to put it on there. You definitely want to keep the bands flat, because under it there's just not a lot of room. So if it's not nice and flat, I'm pretty confident that it's gonna put a little pressure on the PCIe adapter. Probably don't want that. So we're gonna try to pay attention and make sure we get them flat. Now I have put this on several systems. I'm a bit of a geek, and I have done a lot of work on the systems that I have and systems for family, friends, and others, just because I like doing it. And I have used these Crucial NVMe M2s with the same adapter on many different systems, and again I have found that they perform very well. They definitely perform good enough for the intended use. I did mention about this going in the PCIe 4 slot. I haven't tried putting it in a PCI 1, so I'm not sure what kind of a performance decrease you would have there. but when I measured it in a PCIe 4 and then measured it in a PCIe 16, I didn't notice anything. Maybe I just wasn't paying close enough attention, but I didn't notice any performance decrease or difference between the two. So yeah, take that for what it's worth. Maybe your mileage will vary, but I personally didn't notice anything. I didn't go to great details to measure the exact, speed and all of that. I was just doing it from memory, but I didn't see anything that jumped out like, wow, that's so different. So yeah, so there we go. We got that in there. We got our card in there. We got our hard drive in there. We need to drop the memory in, and we're going to be done. So normally, if you're only using 3 modules, which is the minimum, again, this has triple channel memory, so you have to put 3 modules in. If you're going to go with 3, I believe the proper configuration is in these first 2 blue ones and then the first blue one over here for the S30. Now, different systems are going to have different setups if they're using triple memory, but that was the memory configuration when I got both of these systems, so I'm assuming that's correct because it did work. Now, I'm going to be putting in all 8. So that configuration isn't going to be as important unless you are putting in different types of memory. Now, I do not recommend that on any system. It can work. I don't know what kind of performance loss or issues. I'll leave that up to the pros. You can check that out yourself. But for myself, I always prefer to use the same memory. Now, I have a couple of systems where I already had memory, and what I did was I did 2 of the slots and a 4 slot system. I did 2 of them with what was already in there, and then I bought 2 more modules that were identical and put that in the other. And it's my understanding that that is acceptable, even if it's not, the best possible way to do it. But yeah, on this, I'm pretty sure it would be better for system stability, speed, and everything to just use all the same modules. One of the good things is the memory modules for these servers are fairly inexpensive compared to other systems. So yeah, just go ahead and get all the same. And personally, I have always had better success with Samsung memory than I have any other kind. So I would highly recommend just get all Samsung memory. It's just, I think, a better solution. So there we go. We have everything hooked up. You will notice on this system there is only 1 case fan in the back here and the power supply fan. Now that doesn't seem like enough. I ran another S30 like this one, and I was having some heat issues, and I thought, all I got to do is put 1 more fan in the front, and I'm going to get better case flow, airflow through the case, and that will lower my temperatures. Surprisingly enough, that was not the case. It literally made the temperatures go up a little. So I will play with that on this one. I'm going to do the same thing as I always do, is test it. So if we don't have any temperature problems with this system, then we're certainly not going to just add another fan for no reason. No high temperatures, I'm not adding another fan. If I do have high temperatures, I may consider some strategic placement of fans for a hard drive or whatever. But again, on the other system, I thought I could lower the temperature of one of my hard drives, or actually two of them, by adding another fan in the front. It did not work. It must somehow disturb the airflow. So sometimes, even if it doesn't look like there are enough fans in the system, it was designed that way. I mean, there is a place to put one more fan, but I haven't had one of these include one. Now, I did have one that had a S30 that had a fan here beside the hard drives, and so they were probably experiencing a little bit of hard drive heat. So if you may want to look for an adapter. You can try to dissipate some of that heat, get it out the back. Again, I'm just going to test this out and see if I need it, because I never like to add more fans than I need, because no matter how quiet they are, they're never silent. So that's it for the build. I may do some more work here and see if we can't do some testing, see how it runs. I may give you some numbers, let you know how this all worked out, and create another video. For now, that's it. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, give us a like. If you would like to see something else in the future like this, you're welcome to comment. You're also welcome to subscribe to the channel, and we will be making lots more videos of upgrading computers, of rebuilding old systems. I guess that's about the same thing, but it's always budget conscious work. We like to try to keep everything, the price down for everything, so our builds are accessible to almost anybody. So thanks for watching again. Have a good day.